What's going on, everybody? Long time no record. So I've done a few things since my last video. Made a couple new repos on GitHub and made some new things. Namely, I have my runes shell script that I wrote to just take a whole file, take standard input, and then output Unicode Elder Futhark runes. But because Bash is Bash and it's not my favorite language, nor is it incredibly easy to use, doing some minor things like giving options about how to ignore certain things or do certain things, it's just not very easy for me to develop in. But I mean, at least for like a use case of I have runes in a terminal, it serves its purpose. But now we can also do that. I figured out that, because it's script, you can actually run, Python or R, Java script. You can run these scripting languages and their scripts in the terminal. You just have to, I'm pretty sure, not 100%, pretty sure, you have to just give the right shebang line at the top of the file to let it know like what is supposed to be running this script, in which case that would be my R scripts. I'm pretty much sure if you just chmod, make it executable, give it the right shebang, and then there you go. I'm pretty sure that would be how it works. I need to test that. But anyways, so I made a different version of runes. Instead of being written in shell for your terminal, I wrote it in R because R is like my new favorite language. I got into VBA originally, which is what was my step into programming. I would like to automate and build basically whole data applications and stuff with, process these records, input data, press a button, it processes all the stuff, creates a report, trended graphs and new visualizations, and shoots off automatic emails by integrating with other Microsoft applications like Outlook. But VBA is a red-headed stepchild of a programming language, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff around it. If you look at the RubberDuck IDE, it's what you would pretty much do for more modern development with VBA. I mean, you can even do unit tests and other crazy stuff like the nested file trees and all kinds of crazy stuff. Look at RubberDuck IDE if you're doing any sort of like VBA or Microsoft Office program development automation with VBA. It's I mean, for what it is, if you're stuck using that in an office, it's useful and helpful, and I had a lot of success with it. But VBA was my intro to programming, and now that I have R and really enjoy R, I use R for pretty much everything now, and it has a lot of other benefits, and it's like a real programming language. It's not embedded in a Microsoft application, totally proprietary, unsupported, and pretty much universally hated by like almost everybody. It's R. It's useful. It has a lot of applications and other things. So I wrote runes in R because, first of all, in LaTeX, there is actually a LaTeX package, or whatever you call that, module, library, whatever. In LaTeX, you actually have something to do Elder Futhark runes. It exists. I mean, I guess if it's in LaTeX, if it exists, it is in LaTeX. But in R, you can use LaTeX natively in R Markdown, but what if you don't want to use R Markdown? That's an edge case, but I mean, like, if you didn't want to use R Markdown, or you didn't want to have to use LaTeX, even though you can use it natively in R Markdown as it is completely, just copy paste raw LaTeX, it'll work. But what if you don't want to use LaTeX at all? And because LaTeX is very verbose, high learning curve, higher than R, I wanted something simpler. And because I didn't see it exist already. So in an R package, I have not seen anything that does Elder Futhark runes. And a use case might be if you're doing some sort of like linguistics or translation, or you want runes or something in your R file, or your output, if you're writing like a document or writing some sort of like research paper or something in like a Scandinavian or Nordic or Germanic linguistics or something, this would be useful. Or if you're just a nerd like me and you want to have runes in your R stuff for whatever reason, you can do that too. So with this project, I went a little crazy. I did everything. I did unit tests. I have documentation. I have my functions. I have it on Travis CLI or CI, whatever it is for like continuous integration. I have checks on Travis. I have all of my necessary documentation. I have, all my stuff set up for contributors, issue templates on GitHub. I have, a fully fleshed out change log that follows semantic versioning. I pretty much threw all of my picked up random like approaches for programming into this project and trying to build this as like this is a real software project, something that I can actually consistently work on, be proud of, and follows consistent and good practices when it comes to software development. So this is what it looks like. You can do runes in R. Typical stuff, how to install it, how to use it, contributing, if you want to send me support money or whatever. It's under the MIT license because I don't want it to be, MIT is like standard, unless you want it to be like infectiously copyleft or something. But yeah, so this package, it exists. It's on GitHub. You can get it. Right now it works. It's great. I also tried to submit it to CRAN. I got an email back that I had like a couple minor, tiny things. Like they didn't even know what Elder Futhark runes were. So they're like, please just add like a link to your description file. Did those changes, set all that stuff back up, and did all my tests again, shot it back to CRAN. And it's been probably about a week. I haven't heard back yet, but they say like 7 to 10 business days or something. So I'll be patient. In any case, what does runes look like? What does it do? What does it look like? So I'm in an R Markdown document, load the library. You can install from GitHub using DevTools. And let's see here. Move my face over there. So in my console, you can see output here if you did, the function. But also you can also just run it in code chunks and see the output. So if I just put in an ordinary text string into my runes function and run that, I will get Elder Futhark runes as a string output. Now, because R is a vectorized language, I can take a vector of 3 words like this, pipe it into runes. Runes does work with the pipe, obviously. You could also just put a vector into runes. My cat's playing with some chords. And I can do that, and you do get 3 strings in a vector that are all translated. So it's vectorized. Works like that. Great. You can assign the translated characters to raw data like this. And then I could go over here, raw or runes data, and there you go. It holds it. It's basically just converting text characters, alphanumeric text characters to Unicode runes. But also, if you're working in linguistics, you might actually want like a summary table of like what is the translation, how does it work, go back and forth, or just like input a table that explains all of this into your R Markdown output or something. Toss this into data table or toss this into cable, something. I had another function called runes table, and if you run that, you will see I think it returns a data frame, not a tibble. Maybe it is a tibble. I don't remember. But it returns this where it has the Unicode and the actual escaped Unicode characters. It looks like the double slash is here because when you actually output it, it has to have double. But we have the Unicode, the actual English, and then the actual rune characters. Now, because Elder Futhark runes uses some double-upped characters, like NG is the single rune Ingwaz, or Ingwaz, and then TH uses Thorisaz, so those are doubled up, but you also have a T and H runes, so doing things like the would be 2 runes, whereas if you did T space H, it would be 2 separate runes. It's smart enough to pick up all that, but also runes itself has an option where if I did something that included the characters X or Q, which don't have a representation in runes, you can see that the English displays there, and it does not match the style of the font. It's kind of ugly. Well, if you want to ignore those and say, hey, whenever X and Q pop up, ignore them, there's an option for hide. There's some hide this, and we want to hide those, and it will not display X or Q, exactly as you'd want. That's really all there is to the function. Runes table outputs that tibble or data frame of just the translation. You can assign that to a variable, and then you could print that variable out. There you go. We could also like take this and pipe that into data table dt data table, and then have a data table if you wanted to have like an HTML output or whatever. So all of this stuff works exactly like this. Just library, runes, get it from GitHub. You can do that. All of that works. And if we knitted this document, I think it knits to HTML by default. Yes. Okay. Knit. Let's just save it to. Move over there. So yeah, library, run the output. We have output, and it displays exactly like this. So you can see like the actual console output, this is like mimic console output because I just ran the function as itself. It'll output the double, but if I don't put double to escape the backslash, then it'll actually just display the rune itself again. But in here in the data table, you can see that it actually displays correctly, like it's displaying what you need to type verbatim to actually display the character. So all of this is available. It's unit tested. It's yeah, I mean, really my next phase for this, if I can get around to it, is figuring out the accurate translations of like some of the younger Futhark sets, or Futharks, the other Futharks. So this can be more like a comprehensive rune package, but I'm not as familiar with the English character to whatever translations of the other rune sets. Some of them are even like, I think younger Futhark actually has some umlaut characters that it corresponds to, and that I haven't even touched that stuff yet. So I mean, if you want to look at like helping and contributing, I got an open issue for this, which is just multi-Futhark support for younger and whatever. So that is one of the projects I have been working on. So feel free to check it out. It's on my GitHub on the front page right there. So have fun.